So today we're here to talk about a serious and unfortunately ever-increasing problem in our state and nation, the financial exploitation of seniors. I understand when I usually speak publicly, it's on election days, but not today. What I want to talk about today is something that we oversee in our Securities and Charities Division. In that role, I've seen a rapid rise in seniors being financially exploited. The COVID pandemic helped to spur on the rapid increase as we saw many people isolated from their support systems and under tremendous financial strain and worry, along with the fast adoption of online banking technology. According to a study by AARP and the National Opinion Research Council at the University of Chicago, the rate of elder financial exploitation has more than doubled. It has more than doubled since the start of the pandemic. It is estimated that today a total of $100 million from COVID-related scams alone have been stolen from seniors over that period in the United States. But that is just a fraction of the more than $3.4 billion that financial institutions reported stolen through financial exploitation in 2020. And even more troubling is the fact that family and caregivers steal, on average, twice as much as strangers from vulnerable seniors. And that doesn't even include the fact that over 85% of victims don't report it when they are victimized by someone they know and trust. So the $3.4 billion is likely a low number compared to the reality of the crimes that go unreported. In Georgia, most of our investment fraud cases involve Georgia victims over the age of 65. In one case, a Georgia senior citizen investor lost over $3.9 million out of their retirement accounts. In another case, it was close to $17 million of lost funds by senior citizens. Our office has also worked a matter where a family member depleted his great aunt's retirement account, which was approximately $1.2 million. That happened in a single transaction without her knowledge. In such instances, our great Securities Division, which is headed by Director Nuala Zaharis, she gets those calls from the victims because they have no place else to go. Unfortunately, the monies are usually gone well before we get notified, and financial recovery is difficult. Rarely can law enforcement then really fully rectify this wrongdoing after the fact. Georgia does have some great laws on the books already to hold these criminals accountable. But by then, many times, the horse has already left the barn. And there's a lot that has to be done to return any money and restore credit. What we're here to talk about today is providing new, advanced tools to prevent vulnerable seniors from becoming victims in the first place. We are here to announce a comprehensive effort to protect these senior citizens and give financial institutions the power and tools to aid the fight against financial fraud and financial exploitation of our seniors. Our, quote, Senior Protections from Exploitation Against Retirees Act, the SPEAR Act, will do just that. The SPEAR Act, Senate Bill 84, amends the Georgia Uniform Securities Act of 2008. It provides financial institutions the ability to delay transactions involving the accounts of elderly and at-risk citizens. Institutions will be given the tools to those transactions before allowing them to proceed. This legislation will implement common sense safeguards to protect the most vulnerable in our communities and add additional tools for financial institutions to fight fraudulent criminal activity. As I noted earlier, financial exploitation is the most prevalent form of elder abuse. As Georgia's aging population increases, we would expect to see financial crimes against this group just increase due to population growth. This legislation is designed to strengthen ongoing efforts in a partnership between industry and government agencies to prevent and detect senior financial exploitation. It will also increase protection for retired investors. Having this legislation in place will not 100% prevent this type of fraud. However, it will deter and provide more support for the victims. This legislation is based on and informed by the North American Securities Administrators, NASA for short, the model act that they developed to protect vulnerable adults from financial exploitation. NASA is the oldest international organization devoted to investor protection. I am, by virtue of being Georgia's Secretary of State, a member of this organization. 34 states have adopted statutes based on this already, or very similar to, with these Model Act provisions. It is time for Georgia to be added to this list. And we can't stop there. Like so many types of crimes, it is a continuing arms race. We deployed laws and tools to protect people, to protect our fellow Georgians. Then the bad guys, they try and find new ways around them. But I can promise you this, as long as I am Secretary of State, I will use the power and tools of our office to provide the best protections for our seniors and all of those who choose to invest in our state. I urge the members of the House and the Senate to stand with me and stand with our sponsors of this common sense legislation, the SPEAR Act, Senate Bill 84, to protect our seniors from the evils of financial abuse and exploitation. With that, I'd like to invite the sponsor, my good friend, Senator Chuck Hufstetler, to say a few words. And then following Senator Hufstetler, we'll have the Director of our Securities, Nuala Zaharis. She can explain any questions you might have as we get into the weeds and the full details. I'm grateful for them both. Thank you as we lead this effort together to protect Georgia's seniors. Senator.
Fighting a little bit of a code from a few days ago, so I will be brief. But as Chairman of the Finance Committee in the Senate, we're responsible for the revenue coming into Georgia, but we're also responsible for regulating securities that come through things. And it's nice to be up here with the Secretary of State talking about one of the many other things that office does other than just elections. So we appreciate all their hard work in this area. You know, one of the things I've worked on in many bills is taking care of the least of these, as we were taught we should be doing, and this falls into that category. The least of these are vulnerable, they're being taken advantage of. This bill will give financial institutions a tool to be preemptive instead of waiting until after the fact when the money may be gone. There's many horror stories of that out there, and we want to take care of them. So we look forward to getting this protection in Georgia. This is done in other states. Many times with 50 laboratories out there in all the different states, we learn from other states. We learn what works and what doesn't work. And this is a tool that has worked and can work for Georgia. We appreciate the Secretary of State bringing this bill forward to us, and I'm more than happy to sponsor it. And with that, I'll bring someone who's been over since 2014 in the Secretary of State's office, fighting for the least of these, working on rooting out fraud, and that's Nuala Zaharis.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Senator Hufstetler. So as the Secretary said earlier, financial exploitation is the fastest category of elder abuse in the country. In fact, Consumer Affairs, which is a consumer news and advocacy group, reported that more than 3.5 million older adults are victims of financial exploitation each year. And these types of fraud can be perpetrated by strangers, by con artists, or even family members and care members whom the elderly have placed their trust. With that in mind, we decided to do this particular bill. We introduced this bill, which will be another tool to help protect our seniors. So what is the purpose of this? This bill helps protect our elders from financial exploitation by coordinating law enforcement resources. It aligns the interests and responsibilities of the financial professionals, the regulators, which is us, and the law enforcement agencies regarding reporting and the prevention of financial exploitation. So to whom does this apply? Because there are many financial institutions. Well, this bill is specifically for the securities industry professionals. It is for the broker-dealer firms and the broker-dealer agents, the people that work for those firms. It's for the investment advisors and the people that work for those firms, representatives. And it also includes additional people who work for those firms, which are the compliance professionals, the supervisors in charge of the agents and the representatives, and anyone who works in a legal capacity for those broker-dealer and investment advisor firms. So this bill was developed by NASA, and as the Secretary said, 34 states have enacted it. And it has several core features. The first thing is a mandatory reporting requirement. So this creates a network of agencies and resources available to address suspected financial exploitation. It compels the coordination of reporting, which means that these firms have to report not only to the Adult Protective Services agencies that handle these types of issues and exploitation or elder abuse, but they also have to report to our division, the Securities Division, to the Secretary of State. The people the age that triggers the reporting will be persons who are 65 years and older, and it also captures vulnerable adults, which are defined in Georgia as a person 18 years of age or older who is mentally or physically incapacitated, has Alzheimer's disease, or has dementia. Another core feature is that it allows these broker-dealer firms and investment advisor firms notification to certain third parties of potential financial exploitation with the advance consent of the investor. What this does is that it authorizes the firms to disclose to third parties only in instances when a client has previously designated this person as to be a point of contact. For example, when some of you fly, you may have your emergency contact. Well, in the broker-dealer space, they ask for an emergency contact or a trusted contact. It is a person that the brokerage firm, the investment firm, can reach out to should they suspect something is going on with you, like exploitation. So it mandates that they reach out, or allows for them to reach out, but it also says that if the trusted contact is a person that is doing the exploitation, that the firm does not have to reach out to that person. Another thing that the bill does, it is the authority to temporarily delay a suspicious transaction and disbursement of funds. What this means that if the firm believes that a specific transaction or a specific request to disperse funds is being made, and the firm suspects that there is potential exploitation, financial exploitation, that the firm can hold that specific transaction for up to 15 business days. If they need, and this will allow them time to confirm whether or not there is cause for an investigation of financial exploitation. If they need more time, they can reach out and ask our agency to allow an additional 10 days, 10 business days. Now, let me be clear. This does not mean that the entire account is frozen. What this means is that there is a temporary hold on a specific request, a specific transaction request, a specific request to disperse monies out of an account, if the firm has a reasonable cause to believe that that vulnerable adult, that elder adult, may be being financially exploited or under financial exploitation. There's immunity from civil administrative liability for reporting, notifying, and delaying. This bill is designed to report and to allow reporting and holding. So if the firms have a reasonable cause to believe that exploitation has occurred on a specific transaction or a specific disbursement, and they report to us, notify a trusted contact or another adult that they've been told they can notify on that account, and have put a temporary hold to investigate whether or not this is, and fraud is happening, then they can't be held liable for doing that because they did that in good faith. And then finally, it allows for the firms to record share in cases of exploitation, and record share with law enforcement and state adult protective services agencies. We can all do this, our agencies do this through subpoena power. This just expedites the process. When at law enforcement, because we do partner with law enforcement on these issues, that when they ask for information about this, it will be handled in a more expedited manner. So those are the main points of the bill. Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Thank you, Nuala. Good. Do we have any questions? You're all good to go. I know it's a complicated subject, but it's a well-needed topic that needs to be addressed. Thank you so much for attending. If you have any questions, reach out to our office and we'll get you the detailed information. Once again, I just want to give a shout out to Senator Chuck Hufstetler, because when he's not here serving the people of Georgia here, he's serving the people back in his district. He's had a heart for people. He's a doctor, and he knows about giving back, and he really has a heart for people. And that's why we bring this forward, and that's why we're really grateful for his sponsorship of this needed legislation. Thank you all.